I really thought I had it all. The perfect life, the perfect partner. And then I found a hidden folder on his computer. What was inside? It wasn't just another woman. It was a twisted, obsessively detailed double life that was so insane. It completely shattered everything I thought I knew. Let me take you back to how it all started, so you can see how I ended up here, and how the man I loved was a total stranger. Our story, or what I thought was the story, started like a movie. I met Liam 7 years ago. I was a junior graphic designer, just a bundle of ambition and anxiety. And he was this incredibly calming presence. He was a freelance software developer, super smart, with these kind eyes and a laugh that honestly made you feel like you were the only person in the room. He wasn't just charming. He was steady. He felt like home right from the very first date. We built a life together. In a small, sunlit apartment that we probably couldn't afford, but we made it ours. It was filled with mismatched furniture from thrift stores, my half-finished paintings leaning against every wall, and the constant, quiet tap-tap of his keyboard. He was my biggest cheerleader, no question. When I doubt my art, he'd literally frame one of my sketches and hang it up, telling me it was his favorite piece. When I wanted to quit my day job to paint full-time, he made a whole spreadsheet to show me how we could do it, how he'd support us until I was on my feet. He believed in me more than I believed in myself. That was just Liam. He was the guy who'd wake up early to make my coffee, exactly how I liked it, and leave it on my nightstand. He remembered the names of all my friends, their boyfriends, dogs. He'd call my mom just to check in. To everyone, he was the perfect guy. Our friends called us the forever couple, always joking about how disgustingly in love we were, still holding hands after all these years. We had it all planned out. A shared savings account we named Future House Fund. A corkboard plastered with pictures of places we were going to see: Tuscany, Tokyo, the beaches of Greece. We talked about having kids, about what kind of old people we'd be. I could just picture us on a porch somewhere. Him still coding on some futuristic gadget, me with paint-stained hands, both of us grey and wrinkled, but still holding hands. The trust I had in him wasn't just a feeling. It was the foundation of my world. I never, ever felt the need to check his phone or ask where he was going. Why would I? He was an open book. His life was my life. His schedule was on our shared calendar. He worked from his desk 10 feet away from me. There were no secrets, no locked doors. Or so I believed, with every fiber of my being. Looking back is sickening. It was all this beautiful, elaborate stage. And I was the star, completely clueless that the whole set was made of cardboard. He was a brilliant actor, and I was his #1 fan, giving him a standing ovation every single day for 7 years. I never suspected that when the lights went down, he was living in a completely different play. That trust I gave him, it wasn't a gift. It was a tool he used to build his lies, brick by brick, right under my nose. For the first 5 years, it was seamless. That kind of stability you only read about. But then, about 2 years ago, the first tiny crack appeared. It was so small I just painted right over it. Liam landed a huge new client. He was over the moon. He came home, spun me around the kitchen, and told me this was the project that would set us up for years. He said it was a high-profile tech startup, and the work was so confidential he was under a rock-solid NDA. He couldn't even tell me the company's name. "It's a game changer, Sarah," he'd said. His eyes lit up. "But I'm going to be completely swamped. I mean, long hours, maybe some weekends." I was nothing but supportive. This was his dream. As a creative person, I get it. I was so proud of him. So, when he started staying up late, glued to his screen. I'd just bring him tea. When he'd get a call and have to step out onto the balcony, talking in these hushed, technical tones, I just figured, NDA. It all made sense. The first really weird thing happened about a month in. I was paying our credit card bill, and I saw a charge I didn't recognize. $150 at a place called L'Etoile. It's a super fancy, romantic French restaurant. I only knew it because my friend got engaged there. But the weirdest part was the location. It was in a city an hour and a half away. A place we literally never went. I brought it up that night, trying to be casual. Hey, did you have a client meeting or something? There's a charge here for that fancy French place in Westbrook. He barely looked up from his laptop. Oh, yeah. Shoot, I forgot to use the company card for that. It was dinner with the new clients. I had to schmooze them. The answer was so fast, so nonchalant. The perfect explanation. A business dinner. Of course. But this tiny voice in my head whispered, a business dinner for one? At a place known for proposals? I shut it down immediately. I was so ashamed for even doubting him. This was Liam, the man who was working himself to the bone for our future. The idea that he'd lie was just impossible. So I let it go. I paid the bill and didn't think about it again. But your gut doesn't forget. You know? Your brain moves on, but your intuition holds on to things. It was like a tiny splinter, buried too deep to see. But every now and then I'd feel a faint ache. A text message he'd angle away from me. A work call he'd taken the car instead of the apartment. Every single time, there was a logical explanation. The screen glare was bad. He needed better reception. He didn't want to disturb me. And I bought every single one. Because the alternative, the thought that something was actually wrong, was just too terrifying. It would mean my perfect life wasn't so perfect. And I wasn't ready for that. Not yet. After the credit card thing, life seemed to go back to normal. Or maybe I just tried harder to believe it was. Liam was still buried in his big project. But he was making an effort. He'd bring home my favorite takeout or surprise. Me with flowers, always talking about the house we were going to buy. He was selling me our future, and I was buying every bit of it. But the spiral had already started. The slope was so gentle at first. I didn't feel myself losing my footing. The late nights got later. I'd wake up at 3 a.m. and his side of. The bed would be empty, just the glow of his monitor from the living room. When I'd peek in, he'd have his headphones on, deep in concentration. Just hitting a deadline, babe. Go back to sleep, he'd whisper, never taking his eyes off the screen. Then came the work retreats. The first one was announced on Tuesday. Hey, so the team is doing an intensive work weekend at a hotel conference center. Gotta hammer out the final architecture. I'll be gone Friday to Sunday. It was the first time in 7 years he'd be gone for a whole weekend without me. I felt a pang of disappointment but pushed it down. This was for his job. For us. Okay, babe. We'll celebrate when you're back, I said, forcing a smile. That weekend was weird. The apartment was just too quiet. I tried to enjoy it, to paint, but I couldn't focus. I kept checking my phone for his texts. They came, but they were vague. The session is going great. Super intense. Just breaking for lunch. So tired. Gonna crash early. No pictures of the hotel. No funny stories about his co-workers. When I asked what the hotel was like, he just said, standard. You know, beige walls, bad art. He came home Sunday night, exhausted but happy, and handed me a cheap keychain with the hotel's logo. Proof I was thinking of you, he said with a tired grin. I put it on my keyring, another piece of evidence to silence my gut. But the red flags started multiplying. He became so protective of his phone. It used to just lie around, but now it was always in his pocket or face down on the table. If I even reached for it to check the time, he'd flinch. "I've got it," he'd say, snatching it. "It's just confidential work stuff." Confidentiality was his magic word. It was the perfect shield. How could I argue with an NDA? To question it felt like I was questioning his integrity. It was a brilliant trap, and I walked right into it every time. My friends noticed I was getting more anxious. I tried to talk about it with my best friend Maya, but she just gave me this pitying look. "Sarah, it's Liam. He adores you. The guy is working his butt off so you can be an artist. Don't you think you're being a little paranoid?" Her words made me feel even crazier. Was I paranoid? Was I about to sabotage the best thing in my life just because I was lonely? I started to doubt my own mind. That's the scariest part of being gaslit. It doesn't just make you doubt them. It makes you doubt your own reality. The breaking point came on a Thursday. Liam had been on another work retreat. I was doing laundry, emptying his pockets, when my fingers hit a crinkled piece of paper. A receipt. My heart started hammering. It was from a high-end women's boutique I'd never heard of. The date was from the Saturday he was supposedly locked in a conference room. And the item? A single bottle of Fleur de Nuit. A niche. Expensive perfume. It cost over $200. My mind raced. A gift for me? My birthday was months away. A gift for his mom? Maybe. But this perfume? It was a very specific, romantic scent. Not something you buy for your mother. I decided to confront him carefully. That night, as we were doing dishes, I held up the receipt. "Hey, I found this. Did you get your mom's birthday gift early?" I tried to sound breezy. He glanced at it, and for a split second I saw it. Pure, unfiltered panic in his eyes. It was gone in an instant, replaced by his usual calm. But I saw it. "Oh, that. Yeah, exactly. Her birthday's next month. I just wanted to get it out of the way," he said, turning back to the sink. His voice was perfectly even. He was a phenomenal liar. But I'd seen the panic. It was the first real crack in his flawless performance. And I couldn't unsee it. That perfume wasn't for his mom. And it wasn't for me. That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling, my mind a storm of suspicion. Every weird text, every late night, every vague answer, it all swirled into a sickening pattern. I wasn't paranoid. I wasn't crazy. Something was terribly wrong. And for the first time, I knew I had to find out what it was. The man sleeping beside me was a liar. And I had a feeling the only place I'd find the truth was the one place he guarded like a fortress. His computer. Before I tell you what I found, and trust me, you are not ready for it, I have to ask. Have you ever had that gut feeling that something is wrong, and you just ignored it? Let me know in the comments. And if you think this story is unbelievable, just wait. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, because the craziest part is still to come. My chance came a week later. Liam said he had to go on another trip. A longer one. "This is the final push, Sarah," he said, packing a small suitcase. "Beta launch. I'll be gone for 4 days. After this, I promise, it's over. I'm all yours again." He kissed me, and his lips felt cold. My stomach was a knot of ice. This was it. He left on a Thursday morning. The second that door clicked shut, the apartment felt different. It wasn't a home anymore. It was a crime scene. I walked over to his desk. His laptop sat there like a Pandora's box. I took a deep breath and opened it. The login screen. Crap. I tried all our usual passwords, my name, our anniversary, the cat's name, incorrect password. My blood ran cold. He'd changed it. Panic started kicking in. But then I remembered him telling me a sad story about his first dog, a golden retriever named Buddy. The desktop appeared. I was in. I just sat there, breathing hard. The relief was instantly replaced by dread. What was I even looking for? I clicked through folders. Work, projects, finances. It all looked so normal, meticulously organized. I started to feel that guilt again. Maybe I was wrong. And then I saw it. A folder hidden where no one would ever look. Deep in. The system directories. It had a weird technical name. sysconfig_cache. The period at the beginning meant it was a hidden file. This wasn't just put aside. It was actively concealed. My hand was shaking as I double-clicked. Another password prompt. A second layer of security. This was it. This had to be it. I tried Buddy 1998 again. Nothing. I tried everything. And then it hit me. The fake client. He'd never told me the name, but he'd let slip something about a New Horizon project. My fingers flew across the keyboard. The folder opened, and my world ended. It wasn't just an affair. It was something so much more twisted. The folder was a masterpiece of deception, an archive of a complete double life. There were 3 subfolders. The first was titled Project Leo. I clicked. My breath caught in my throat. It was filled with hundreds of photos. It was Liam's face, but it wasn't him. He was clean-shaven, dressed in expensive clothes I'd never seen. He looked different. And in every single picture, he was with another woman, a beautiful woman with long dark hair. They were on a boat, hiking at a black tie gala. They were kissing under the Eiffel Tower on a date that matched one of his solo work trips. There were photos of him with her family at Christmas. Our last Christmas, he told me he had to work. I spent it alone. And in these photos, he wasn't Liam. The captions, the tags, they all called him Leo. He had a whole other name. A whole other life. Nausea washed over me. I clicked back and opened the second folder. Logistics. This was almost more horrifying. It was the instruction manual for his lies. There was a scanned driver's license with his face, but the name was Leo Sterling. A lease for a luxury apartment in Westbrook, the same city as the restaurant. Credit card statements for cards I never knew he had, all in Leo's name. And then I found the calendar. A complex, color-coded spreadsheet. Week A, Sarah. Week B, Clara. He was living week on, week off. He had scheduled time for Liam calls and Leo calls. He had notes to keep his stories straight. The work retreats were just his transition days. This wasn't a mistake. This was a calculated, long-term operation. But the last folder is what truly broke me. The third folder was titled, simply, The Script. I opened it. It was a 50-page Word document. It was a literal script for his 2 lives. He had written character profiles. Liam, it said, is a quiet, steady, intellectual type. Supports his artistic, slightly insecure partner, Sarah. Goal, long-term stability. My entire life was a paragraph in his character bio. Leo, it continued, is an outgoing, high-flying entrepreneur. I enjoy luxury and travel. Engaged to Clara, a successful lawyer. Goal, wealth acquisition. The document had lists of my friends' names, my favorite movies, and our inside jokes. Next to it, A parallel list for Clara. It had contingency, plans, potential conflicts and excuses. I scrolled down, my vision blurring with tears. There it was. Conflict. Accidental charge from Westbrook Restaurant on Sarah's card. Excuse. Client dinner. Forgot company card. And right below it. Conflict. Sarah finds receipt for perfume. Excuse. Early birthday gift for Mom. Note. Must remember to actually buy Mum a different gift. He hadn't even come up with the lies. On the spot. He was reading from a script. The last page was titled Endgame Scenarios. 2 columns. Scenario 1. Choose Sarah, which detailed how he'd fake a work transfer and break up with Clara. Scenario 2. Choose Clara was more detailed. It involved starting a huge fight with me, so I would be the one to end things, letting him play the victim. I stared at that page, at the cold, calculating words. The love I had for him, the 7 years of memories, it all curdled into pure hatred. I wasn't a person to him. I was a scenario, an option. And the most terrifying part, he hadn't decided yet. I was still auditioning for a role in my own life. I closed the laptop. The silence in the apartment was deafening. I wasn't just heartbroken, I felt erased. The life I thought I had was a fiction written by a monster. And he was coming home in 3 days. In the hours after, I didn't cry or scream. A strange, chilling calm just washed over me. The shock was so profound it was like a circuit breaker flipped in my brain. I wasn't Sarah, the heartbroken girlfriend anymore. I was a detective. First, I secured the evidence. I grabbed an external hard drive and copied the entire hidden folder. Every photo, every spreadsheet, every single word of his sick script. I made a backup on a cloud server, password protected with the one thing he'd never guess. My own name. Then, I carefully deleted the access logs on his computer, erasing any trace of me. He wouldn't know I knew until I was ready. For 3 days, I lived in a daze, playing the part of a woman waiting for her partner to come home. When he texted, "Can't wait to see you," on Sunday I replied, "You too." That heart emoji felt like a drop of poison. He walked in around 6 p.m., smiling that smile I used to love. "Hey, babe, I missed you," he said, moving in for a hug. I took a step back. It was a small movement, but it stopped him cold. The smile on his face flickered. "Everything okay?" I just looked at him. Really looked at him for the first time. I wasn't seeing Liam. I was seeing Leo Sterling. "We need to talk," I said. My voice was eerily steady. He immediately put on his concerned Liam face. "Of course. What's wrong?" I didn't waste time. "Who's Clara?" The name just hung in the air. I watched his brain spin, searching the script for a line that wasn't there. Clara wasn't supposed to exist in my world. "Clara," he said, forcing a laugh. "I don't know Clara. Is that someone from your work?" The gaslighting was so reflexive. It was almost impressive. "No," I said quietly. "She's from yours. Or should I say, Leo's?" The color drained from his face. For the first time in 7 years, he was speechless. He was off script. "You're being crazy, Sarah," he stammered, but there was no conviction. "Am I?" I walked to the coffee table and picked up a photo I'd printed of him and Clara at her family's Christmas. "Then who is this? Your secret sister?" I tossed it. On the table. Then the lease for the apartment in Westbrook. "I guess your commute is longer than I thought." Then the color-coded calendar. And finally, the cover page of his masterpiece. The script. He just stared at the papers. His whole universe collapsing. The mask of Liam fell away. and what was left was just ugly and pathetic. He didn't apologize. He got angry. "You went through my computer," he spat. "That's a complete invasion of my privacy," I laughed. A hollow, broken sound. "Your privacy? You were running 2 lives with 2 women, and you're mad because I looked at your laptop. The audacity is just breathtaking." He finally sank onto the couch. "It just sort of happened," he mumbled. "It got complicated. I didn't want to hurt either of you." And then, the line that made me want to scream. "I loved you both, just in different ways." "No," I said, my voice like ice. "You don't love anyone. You use people. I was your comfortable home base. She was your shiny new toy. We weren't people to you. We were lifestyles you were trying on." I walked to my bedroom, and started throwing his clothes into his suitcase. He followed me, pleading, "Sarah, please. We can fix this. It was a mistake." "A mistake is forgetting to take out the trash," I said, not even looking at him. "This was a choice. Hundreds of them. Every single day. Now, I'm making a choice." I dragged his bags to the door and opened it. "Get out." He just stood there stunned. "Sarah, don't do this. I want you gone," I said, my voice finally cracking with rage. "If you are not out of this door in 60 seconds, I'm calling the police." He finally got it. The show was over. He picked up his bags and walked out without another word. I slammed the door, slid to the floor, and finally let myself break. The next few days were a blur. I blocked him everywhere, but I knew there was one last thing I had to do. I had to tell Clara. She wasn't my enemy. She was his other victim, and she deserved the truth. Finding her was easy. A quick search brought up her professional profile as a lawyer. I stared at her photo confident, smiling, oblivious. My heart ached for her. I wrote an email. "You don't know me," I began, "but my name is Sarah, and for the last 7 years, I've been with a man I know as Liam. I believe you know him as Leo." I just stated the facts and attached the link to the folder with all the evidence. "I am so sorry," I wrote. "You deserve the truth." I hit send. She replied in an hour. 2 words. "Call me." That phone call was one of the strangest of my life. She was devastated and furious. We spent 2 hours piecing together his lies from both sides. Her Leo was always traveling for investor meetings. The weeks he was with me, my Liam, was always on work retreats. The weekends he was with her. We discovered he'd used the same pet names, told us the same jokes, and given us both the same cheap keychain. It wasn't just cheating, it was plagiarism. In a weird way, we became allies. And then came the karma. It turns out, Clara is not someone you want to mess with. Her father is a huge figure in the tech investment world. Leo was so desperate to break into. After she confronted Leo and broke off their engagement, she told her father everything. The story of the con. Artists spread like wildfire. His freelance contracts dried up. That New Horizon project. He was fired immediately. He lost everything. He lost me. He lost Clara, and he lost his career. The last I heard, he had to move back in with his parents. My healing wasn't that quick. It was brutal. I went to therapy. I spent weeks where I could barely get out of bed, haunted by memories that now felt fake. But slowly, with help from my friends, my family, and a whole lot of paint, I started putting myself back together. I learned to trust my gut. I learned that my life didn't end when he walked out that door. A fake version of it did. And what's growing in its place is real. It's mine. And it's built on a foundation of truth, not some script written by a stranger. This was, hands down, the hardest thing I've ever been through. But sharing it is part of moving on. It's a reminder that we can survive unbelievable betrayals. If you made it this far, thank you for listening. Hit that like button if you believe in karma, and subscribe for more stories about navigating life's craziest moments. Stay safe. Always trust your intuition, and I'll see you in the next one.